Hi everyone, this is Andrew Baronsky, and in this video we're going to be looking at using the Brightspace Content Tool and the variety of resources and tools that are available to you with it. So to get started here, I'm just going to jump into a demonstration class for this. Now this is a brand new empty shell, so how you will likely be starting off with your classes depending on what you're looking to do. The quick and easy way to get at your content area in your Brightspace class is just on the nav bar up in the top left. The default here will be to access the content page. If you don't see it there, you can always click the three dots in the top right, customize your nav bar. The first time it asks you to do this, it's going to ask you to make a copy, and then you can add that link or reorder these to get at your content. But I'm going to click on the link here, and this is the same way your students would get in. When you land in here for the first time in a brand new class shell, you're going to see the option here for a new unit. You'll be blank through here and this area. And so the way you start off here is a unit, or think of this as a folder. So to start off, I'm going to click on a new unit here, and I get a chance to title this. I'm just going to go demo unit 1 as an example. There are lots of ways you can name this and customize this. I see some teachers going by subject area. I see some teachers going by units, a week or a day. It is really up to you what's going to suit you and your students best. But there are a variety of ways to go about that. Within this unit folder, and again, I really think you should use this as a storage space for the actual content you want to share with your students. Don't use these units or folders as a long content area. It should be quick, easy, a short image, video, some basic text for what it's going to be contained in it, but don't put a lot of content on here. One of the big reasons for that is a student can't expand it out full screen for the folder, but they can on pages contained within. So I think that's a really important piece. So I've got a full text editor here though. I can insert resources, links, variety of tools for formatting text and color, and then just putting that space in that area and space here. Good to know at the bottom, you're gonna see by default this is hidden. When you're creating content newly for the first time, the default is hidden, but you can toggle this on to make it visible. Now, for you as the educator, you will always see this, but the toggle for visible or not visible is for your students. So you can create in advance, not have your students see it, and choose when you want to make it visible to them. So if I leave this hidden to start here, I'm just going to click save. And now I've got this unit or folder here for me. Now to track what's visible or not, I can see the little here. If I hover over it, it says that's hidden from students, and I can toggle this on or off. So really powerful there. I love that feature. It's really great access for kind of how you can use this and build things out in these resources here for your students. As a quick example, if I make this invisible again or hidden from my students, you always have the power within Brightspace to go and click on your profile on the top right as an educator in a class and click view as student. Once I've done that here, you'll see up in the top right now, it says my name, but it says as student. And so this is what it's going to look like as a generic student in your class. Good to keep in mind, like you're still you in the background. This throws a few teachers off with the maybe Google Sync or their Google resources. Keep in mind, it's still your access for those files in the back end. It's just viewing on top of that as a generic student. Now, if I go to content here as a student, I'm not going to see anything. This is blank because there's nothing in here for me right now because we only have that one unit folder. To return to the view as a teacher, I can click on my profile again and then choose the X beside viewing as student. And I'm back in here as the educator myself in this class. When I go back to content, I'll see that unit folder here. Let's make it visible for going ahead. Now, one of the things I really like about Brightspace content is you can have a subfolder and a sub-subfolder and then a file within that sub-subfolder. So you can kind of get multiple levels deep here. There's lots of great ways to organize very quickly. And we're going to come to look at this more in detail. So you have these two buttons here for adding resources to your Brightspace content. You've got add existing and create new. Quickly for this, because we'll dive into this more later in this video, if I click on create new, I'll see an option here for new lesson, and I'm just going to call this subfolder right now and save it. And so I've got that subfolder, and within this again, I can click on create new and add another folder here. And just for examples here, let's go sub folder. and click save. And then I could, clicking on this folder, if I want to add something to it, I can click on create new. Now you'll see I lose the option for folders, but I can add in resources within that. So I kind of get 4 levels down if you want. Okay, let's leave those there for now though. To view within a folder, you can always collapse it with the arrow here and collapse again, and then click to expand those folders. Okay, now what I want to highlight off to the start here, there are so many great resources for building your own and bringing your own resources, whether it's from Google Drive, your files, starting from scratch here. We've got some really cool templates for starting from scratch to make your content look really clean and professional for your students. But before we get there, for a lot of teachers, they start off with resources added into their class for them that were written and published by the ministry, or maybe even shared with them by another educator. So I want to start and have a look at that here in the beginning. So I've created this folder here. Your class is always going to come empty, and because it's up to you for what you want to use, but there is a way for you to preview what resources are out there. Are they available for your class? You can preview the first unit and then see if you'd like to have them imported into your classroom. So how do you preview this? You can't do it from within your class shell. You need to go back to the Brightspace homepage. So up here in the top left, I'm going to click the little house there. And then on my Brightspace homepage as an educator, if I scroll down, I'm going to see a widget towards the bottom right called ELO logins. I'm going to see options here for all public courses, which is our secondary classes, and all elementary courses, which would be the resources available for K to 8. For the purposes of this example here, I'm going to click on all public courses. And it's going to pop me out into a new tab, and I'll see them organized by subject area here for secondary. I want to say there's about 120 or so course packages now. They've been written and developed over time, and so it's important to be aware of that. As an example, if I jump into English here, I can see all the courses that have been published and the year that they were published as well. Like everything on the web, depending on how more recent was published, it's going to have an effect on the look and design and feel, and also how well the resources within them worked. For some of the older courses in here, it's very important to be aware. Some of them were designed with Flash-based activities, and as of 2021, the start of this year, Flash is not supported on the web anymore, so those interactivities won't work. The ministry is aware of that, and they'll have a team, I'm sure, working over time, but there's probably over 200 course packages in here with a lot of activities, so don't count on those being changed anytime soon. But in the past couple of years, they really haven't made too much with Flash. If I want to preview an example of one of these course packages and have what it looks like, have an example of what it looks like, I can click into a class, and it'll bring me to a page that looks just like this, and I can preview just the first unit of a course. So there are multiple units. Most courses come with 4 to 7 units, I would say. It only lets you preview the first. To see the rest, you need to have it to one of your course shells. So within here, I can preview through. If I want to jump onto activity 1.1 as an example, I can come here and have a look at that page, expand out full screen, and preview what it looks like and what it would feel like for my students. Really important to know for all of these course packages, and there are different designs over time. So if I jump back here, this was from 2020. If I jump into one from 2019 as an example and click to expand here, you'll see it follows a different style, but often for these courses, it's a one-page scroller with the idea of minds-on action and consolidation for your students. Learning goals and success criteria are built in. There's often a human voice to read the activity to the students from an accessibility standpoint. And again, you can expand full screen and scroll through and have a look at what is available in this course. But again, these do cover the entire curriculum and content from the ministry for those courses. So again, you can preview that first unit in here. If I want to look at another subject, I can X this out and say I want to check out science as an example. I can see the courses listed for science and the resources there. And again, preview that first unit. Now, after previewing here, if you would like to have one of these courses added to your class shell, and it might be to say your sandbox, which is just space for you to go and have a look and play around with things that's not shared with your students, or if you want it directly added to one of your classes that is with your students, there is a quick form for you to complete to get at that. every educator should have access to the WRDSB Brightspace Educator Resource Hub in their courses. If you click into it, you'll see a widget in the top right here for important educator links, and then links to Google Forms to request this. So if you want the content package, you need to either, as a secondary educator, choose the course content request or the elementary resource request as an elementary educator. These are separate from the class shell requests. Again, the vast majority of your classes will be created for you automatically via a Trillium sync. But if you want another shell on top of those, you can request those are here, and that's that blank class shell to get at. If you want to have a course content package added to your class, you would go to that form. As an example, here's the secondary one. Fill out your information very quickly. And then so we know what shell we're going to put it into. We just want the URL link to the homepage of the class you want it added to. So for the class shell you already have, drop that in here and we'll get that added into your course for you quickly. All right. Returning home here, that is to have a resource package added to your class as an educator. I'll highlight again, once it is added to your class, it is yours to use as you see fit. You can edit it, you can change it, you can add your own resources to it, you can hide those resources as we looked at from your students, or you could delete them right out of your class. It is, again, really up to you. Very quickly having a look at that, I'm going to jump into a shell in my sandbox here that's had a couple courses added into it actually, just because of some different styles for editing. So if I click on this ENG1D and then go to a content page here, now you'll see here when this, for an example here, this one, there's the content page and then hidden from students, the teacher notes, which you should always keep hidden from students, and also a chance to edit the learning goals, success criteria, and learning skills, which are embedded in here. These courses, especially ones developed more recently, come with a lot of editing and HTML design in the background. So I'll be honest, they're not the easiest to edit. It's not that you can't go in and change them for the newer ones, but there's a lot that went into making them look and function the way they did, and that's something to be aware of. So for example, if I want to edit the learning goals or success criteria, you need to do through this page, and again, keep this hidden from students. On this style though, if I click on edit here, I can go up to the three dots in the top right hand corner, click on them, and then click edit. You'll see it now opens up in a text editor. I can edit the title of this page, and I can scroll through here. Now you see not everything's going to work perfectly. You need to be careful with where your cursor is. For again, like having these hyperlinked for this page, the way things fit in, you need to be careful with where you're clicking. But if I wanted to change something here, again, I do have that basic text editor where I can kind of do some editing. If I didn't want this image example, I could select it and remove it. As I scroll through here, you'll see various options. So this one has a discussion hyperlinked. Again, the buttons here is not function the same way. You can play around with that editor. Or again, if you wanted to add in your own resources, like a YouTube video just like this one, if I wanted to replace this YouTube video, I could remove it here. So I just gonna get my cursor into the right area and look to delete it there. So I've removed that one. Now if I wanted to add in my own YouTube video to this space, I could simply here go with insert stuff and then enter that embed code and drop an embed code for a YouTube video, which would then embed right here. Other key thing to keep in mind, make sure it looks and feels the way you want it to before you click save, because once you save it, it is done. If something goes wrong in this editor and you can't, again, if your mouse cursor gets stuck up here, you're not sure what you're doing, you can always just click cancel. It won't save the changes you made, and then you can start over again. Okay, so one example there from a version. If I jump into an older course, a little simpler, if I want to change the course description here, the setup, simply the three dots again in the top right, click edit, and now I've got that editor to go through and work through. One more I'll highlight in here, which I don't have an example of, but with this style of class here, sometimes you're going to see the three dots here to edit this page. Sometimes you will not. If you don't get an option to edit here and you can't pull up the editor, what you're going to do in that style, you can edit it still. You're going to scroll down to the bottom of your units, and you're going to see another folder here that says like teacher edit, or yeah, I think it's edit teacher or teacher edit. It will be hidden. If you click in that folder, you'll see a duplication of all of these pages. go in there, make the edit inside that teacher edit page of the duplications, save it, and those changes will show up in your main folders for you here. Okay, all that being said, that's how you get a ministry package into your class if you want it, and how you go about editing it. But you do not need to use that, and there are lots of great ways to build out your own content and resources in Brightspace Content with just your own resources, or building new ones to begin with on your own. I'm going to jump back into our demo class here and head back into the content area. Now with this, so I've got my demo unit in. We saw how we can add a folder and a subfolder. To add something into a folder, you've got two main ways to go about doing this. I'm just going to click on my parent folder, or kind of main folder here. And then you'll see you've got add existing and create new, the two ways to really create and share things within Brightspace Content. Now, I'm going to start with add existing, and again, you might have really great resources already, and I'll say I love Google Drive and Google Docs and Google Slides. There are really great ways to share them in here right within Brightspace Content. And actually, I find on myself, truly, I can organize my stuff from Google better in here than sometimes I can in Classroom, which is that topic page or just the stream. So as an example, I'm going to click on the folder I want this work to go into. I'm going to click on add existing. Now, you'll see a variety of options here. Now, add existing, as it sounds, are for things you already have and have access to and or have designed already. To start, Google Drive is a great one. Now, to use this, you're going to have done a one-time sync with your WRDSB Google account. You can find that on the homepage of Brightspace. Scroll down, you'll see an app called a widget called Google Apps. Sync it and make sure your current WRDSB email address is there. You can always update it. Do that one-time sync, and then via that I can click here and it will pop up my Google Drive for me to find and share resources from. Now, you'll see different options here. I'll be honest, I don't love this version. I actually find it's a little dated from Google. It's an integration from Google. It doesn't bring up your files very well, which you'll see here in a sec. You can get at it this way. So if I wanted to share, I know this is a slide deck. This is my most recent here. It's not letting me preview it. I can click select. And what I will see here, it just drops that in for me automatically. It will actually flag to your sharing permissions, and you can toggle it to share it with anyone in the link within the WRDSB. Keep in mind, sharing that way is your students need to be logged into their WRDSB Google account. And I would say not just by logging into Brightspace, but also via their web browser profile in the top right to make sure they can access it. But with that quick, easy access here, I can click into this file and it will load my slide deck live right in here. Now, I like this as an option. It lives right in here. It is actually the live document living in. And remember I mentioned that expanding full screen. If I'm like, oh, this is not enough screen real estate for me and for my students. If I click on my parent folder here, you'll see I don't have anything else here aside from these options. I can't expand this out. If I click on a doc within it though, I'll get these 4 arrows in the top right, and I can click there to expand this full screen so I can just focus in on my content. I think this is really great for our students. Again, this is a live document living within Brightspace. The sharing permissions are set up via that share only. You can see actually I don't even have it share here. It's just anyone with the link can view without a sign-in required actually for this one. Okay, so I've got that there. I can click and drag and move things around if I want. If I want to throw it in a subfolder, I can and move that way. But again, this is in the parent folder here right now. Again, I like this. This file is right in here. Clicking back on the parent folder, I'm going to click on Add Existing again. You'll see this big box here with the drag and drop or browse. You can drag files off of your device and have them upload and live right here in Brightspace. So for example, if you've got a great PDF, you can drop that in and it actually loads in and previews right in your content. So just like we were looking at that Google slide deck before, that PDF will live right in Brightspace. It doesn't require download. It's embedded right there for you. Same thing with images and other files. So if you want to upload something off your device to share with your students in content, you can easily do that here by dragging and dropping it in, or clicking the browse button to do that. Moving through, there are lots of ways to build out in Brightspace. If I click on assessment here, again, I've got discussions, or I can be creating out assignments. If you want to organize this all in one place for your students, and I actually really recommend you do that. So again, they might be working through some content, some resources, watching a video, and then you're ready for them to do an assignment. You can build that in the assignments, but instead of students having to click there and find it, just by clicking assignment here, this is a brand new class shell, but if I had an assignment created here, I could then just click assignment, because this is, again, remember, we're in add existing, click assignment and add it to this content page. My students work through the resources, and then the assignment they need to do is right there for them. Same thing, if you're working through some resources or have them watch their video in your content area as an example, and then you want them to go off and share in a asynchronous discussion, you could, and you've created that in the discussions tool, link it here. If you've built out a quiz or you have a checklist for them to complete to highlight what they've done, link that here as well. Moving through, depending on your organization, for Google Meet, I personally recommend using maybe the class navbar and having it live up here as a unique link, but you can add a Google Meet directly here in content. So it's going to work through these resources, and then say at 11 a.m., I'm going to post a Google Meet. This is also just like Google Drive, it has to be synced with the Google Apps just that one time, and then it will create this meet with your Google account, with you as the host. It's set up kind of like a calendar-based Google Meet, so you can turn quick access on or off, but it will not expire over time right away after the first use. It will live on, so something to be aware of there. Also really important to highlight here, clicking the more option within content, you get a variety of other options for how you can build and share things out. The two I want to highlight in here for you are Google Assignments and Google File Embed. These are really great new integrations from Google, which give you some really awesome features in Brightspace content for managing all of your Google work with your students and what you want to share. Now, Google File Embed is very similar to this Google Drive option that I covered earlier, but it's a brand new updated version from Google. I personally like this one a lot more. You can use either. If I click on Google File Embed though, it'll pop up here and it's going to check are you using your board account? And you're like, yep, that's good. I'm going to click select file. And right here, you can see much cleaner. It goes right to my recents and it looks really good. And it's bringing my information across right away. I really, really like this option. I can go to my drive and search through my folders here very quickly as well and find my information. You can see it's just much more responsive and a great way to find things. So if I go to share that same slide deck again, I'm going to click on this one and click add. It's going to let me know that attachments file will change the sharing setting to anyone with the link can access it. I love that. It just fixes it off for me right off the bat for me. It's kind of like making a replica or a new version of it and then setting it so anyone who's got the link to this from your class can just click and open it up. It doesn't worry about the sharing permissions at all. If you want to share something specifically with just a small group of people, you can do that via the attach to existing, create new option, which we'll look at here in a little bit. So I'm going to click on attach for this though. And very quickly, so there it is added as my new option now. Now if I click on this one, you can see a difference here too. So again, there are those two documents added two different ways, function similar ways too, really up to you for how you want to share. But again, that full screen option is there. You can go into, students can go into present mode right within this and work through that resource. So cool options there. The next one I'll highlight back with add existing here and more is Google Assignments. Now, this could be a video into itself. I'm not going to go deeply in this one, but basically Google Assignments right within Brightspace gives you the same option as Google Classroom for sharing a task with that make a copy for each student version. This lives like within, it's a link with here in Brightspace, but basically it takes you out to a very much like a Google Classroom experience for a task where you want to assign something to your students and collect it back from them. So if I click on Google Assignments here, same thing, it's going to check to make sure I'm using my correct account. You want to make sure you are, again, logged into the browser itself with your board account and for your students as well to make sure this isn't crossing any wires there. But it's going to ask you to link. So I'm going to click link for this class. Google is going to ask for me a few permissions here just to link my Brightspace account with my board Google account. Have a quick look over that. And then if you're comfortable with it, click link. And what this is going to do is create a very much like a Google Classroom like assignment experience where again I can sign a document to my students just with that. So now I can create a Google assignment. If you've used Classroom before, it's going to look very similar. Total points, I might say I want to make this out of 4, I'm going to level it. I can choose to share a due date with my students right here within this, title it, optionally give instructions. I can use the Google Classroom rubrics tool experience if I want. Plagiarism or the originality checkers here and built in if you want to use with your students and toggle that on. And last but not least, with the attach button here, again, I can jump right in my drive, find that recent one. If I click on it now, you're going to see it highlights for me. Each student will get a copy. So right here within my Brightspace content area, I'm going to post a Google assignment. My students will click it. It will look just like Google Classroom, where it will highlight their document, which they can click to open. It will be their own version with their naming on it, just like that Google Classroom experience. And then they'll have a button within there to submit it back to you. So I'm just going to go demo assignment here. I'm not going to worry about instruction or anything else here. I'm just going to click create. And so within my Brightspace content now, this page will be created for me. It brings my title across here and shows it like a drop box to highlight it as an assignment. If I click on it, now this will be my view as an educator in the class. I can still have an editable version here. I can see I have no student submissions yet, but as my students go and open up those files, they can click to submit this into me, and as they submit it, it will, just like Classroom, change those sharing permissions so it's set to you, and you can pop in here, open it up in that full experience, give them feedback, assessment, return it. Other really quick cool thing about this does sync up with your Brightspace gradebook. It will create a grade item in there for you and send any marking you do in here into the Brightspace gradebook. We'll be looking at that in a separate video if you're interested in using that tool as well. Also really good to know, and we won't spend any more time on Google assignments here in the content area because we've got lots of other things to cover and get to. If you use this feature here, it does, just like Classroom, create a folder in your Google Drive and organize all the work there. It's best not to mess around or move much around that folder because of the integration between the two. But if you, after posting your first Google assignment, if you go into your Google Drive, you'll see a folder there called Assignments, and within it, your Brightspace classes, and then your Brightspace assignments, the assignments in that class organized by folders with Google Assignments here for you. Okay, so that is the Add Existing feature within Brightspace.